the World Healing Tour movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.
Hey everybody, my name is Lisa Ray. I'm a literary agent and I'm working with the media team here at The Grass Grows where I am, and we are so excited to bring you a co-author experience where you will grow your brand and your visibility. Click the link below and apply now for free, and we will see you inside the pages of The Grass Grows where I am.
Hello. Welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the author of the book, The Grass is Greenest Where I Am, because the grass is greenest where you are when you say so. When you decide to live in your own love and light and share your unique gifts with the world in a place of no comparison, no competition, and no scarcity. Each week, I bring great guests into studio to be able to pour into you and help you on the journey, help you do better and help others as well. So that's what's really exciting about the World Healing Tour, because when we heal ourselves, we truly do help others heal as well. My guest today, Joshua Krafchick, grew up in a divorced family where money was always a negative topic. After receiving a degree in mathematics, he discovered that financial advisors don't know the ins and outs of investing. That's when he made it his mission to educate Americans on the best way to grow their wealth. Joshua, welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast. So grateful to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here where the grass is greener.
I love that. And Josh, I love that. I want to start with the fact that you grew up in a family, and I think a lot of us have, including myself, I have to admit, And I just told my husband on the way here, I wish, I was in financing, because it makes such a difference. It's such an empowering place to be, because you kind of really knows what's going on. How did you change your mindset to be able, because that's a huge shift, right? To not grow up with that way and not have any idea about financing, because a lot of us live our lives without really knowing anything about anything. We don't even know what comes in, what comes out. How were you able to get yourself into a place where you became so passionate about this?
Well, when you see all the negative sides that money can have over your parents, it's not a healthy way to live your life. So I challenged myself to make sure that I never want to live my life that way, where essentially people are yelling and screaming at each other over something that's completely fungible.
So you grew up in a house where there was a lot of chaos, would you say? And there was a lot of stress over money all the time. Did you hear a lot of those conversations in your family?
Yeah, there was a lot of yelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was going on a field trip and they're like, hey, the suggested money for the students is like $20 or something. And so I'd go to my mother, I'd be like, hey, can I get the money for this field trip? And she's like, well, ask your father. And I'm like, in elementary school. So I'm like, okay, I'll call my dad. I'll be like, hey, Dad, I'm going on this cool field trip. Can I get $20 for it? He's like, well, I send your mom money every month. Why can't she pay for it? And then I go back to my mom and go, hey, my dad said he already sent you money. And she's like, well, it doesn't pay for everything. And I'm just like, okay, this is weird. And as a kid, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so you felt kind of caught in the middle between your parents. Were your parents married or were they divorced at the time?
Divorce, I don't ever remember when they were married.
Okay, so the tension was still there, even though they weren't even together. And you were left kind of trying to fend for yourself and seeing who's going to help me? Am I going to go here? Am I going to go here? And it seemed like scarcity was almost on both ends, would you say?
Like both ends of the parents?
Yeah, both parents were in that kind of mindset of scarcity.
Well, they just let money dictate their mood and how they live their lives. It got to the point where I got told no so many times, I just gave up asking. It got to the point where if we went out to dinner like as a family, I would find the cheapest thing on the kids menu and I'd always order the cheapest thing, which was typically like a hamburger or a cheeseburger because I was scared if I ordered something that was too expensive, I'd get yelled at.
And my kids always go to the most expensive thing on the menu. They're not even worried about it. My husband the other day, he took them to eat and he's like, oh, they're not shy. Like they just go for the most expensive thing on the menu. And I just thought that was really funny. And so feeling like, did that bring you kind of like in a scarcity mindset? Like, I'm not worthy. What did you make that mean that you can't have something more expensive on the menu? Did you make it mean something at that time about yourself?
Well, I was just scared to
Mm-hmm.
get yelled at. So to avoid getting yelled at, I would just order the cheapest thing because I knew it was a safe thing because I've ordered it so many times and I didn't get yelled at. And I was like, well, if I've ordered this before and didn't get yelled at, I probably am not going to get yelled at for ordering this. So that was like my mindset around it. And then, I mean, when you get told no enough times as a kid, you don't know that. I mean, when your parents tell you no, you just basically like accept it or you keep asking until they like yell and scream at you. That was the way I looked at it.
So that was really, you're very smart. So you just realized, hey, if they're not yelling at me, that means it's okay. So I'm just gonna play it safe. So you were in fear, though. It kept you in fear, but also playing safe to not cause any kind of, aggravation between you and your parents or each other. So yeah, that must have been an uncomfortable place for you to be in your own life. And so, was that the first kind of realization that you want your life, your adult life, or your future life to be different? Was that part of what set you on the path to go towards learning more statistics and mathematics and learning more about money?
I believe it motivated me to learn on how to make money without relying on people. Because a lot of people rely on their parents, even like when you go to, through high school, college, or sometimes you're cut off at 18. And a lot of people don't ever learn how to make money. They have to rely on a job. They rely on parents, family members. However, if you don't have that support, if you don't come from an affluent family or you don't go to a school where there's a lot of wealthy people for you to network with, you have to get pretty creative to figure out a way to set yourself apart from the average person.
Yeah, and creativity is something that you just said, and I want to tell you that I really believe the no creates creativity more than the yes does.
Well, it leaves you no choice
Hmm.
because when someone tells you no and that door closes, you have to look at it from one of two lenses. Some people look at that at the negative, which growing up, I took it as a negative. Then you learn that everything that happens is good.
Yeah, I like that attitude. Everything that happens is good. And where do you go from there? So, Josh, I just found out as I was looking at your bio that you're an author of children's books, and that really excited me. Can you tell us a little bit about your children's books and why you want to make difference for the children? And I know you have your own child as well, so that I'm sure
Yeah.
that's important to you as well.
Yeah, so I was sitting around, I think it was during like 2020 during COVID times, and I wrote a kid's book and I sent it to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and she goes, "Was this something like your grandparents read to you?" I was like, "No, I just wrote it." She goes, "It's actually really good because a lot of people are like, hey, like our kids don't learn about money, they don't learn about finances, and now we're struggling because a lot of people my age took out a bunch of student loans and didn't realize like, hey, it's a loan. You got to pay it back."
Yeah, so tell us the name of the first book you wrote.
So the first book is called The Boy That Picked Up a Penny, and it teaches children about coins. So it's a boy that finds a penny in his room. So it starts off like once upon a time there was a little boy who noticed something shiny underneath his toys. He picked it up. It was brown and bright. He smiled from cheek to cheek with great delight.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. Does the whole book rhyme like that?
It does
That's
because who
adorable.
wants to read a kid's book that doesn't rhyme? Like that's one of the best parts about kids books. And
I
now that I have a
agree.
daughter, I read so many kids books that, in my opinion, are terrible, and I don't know how they're popular.
Yeah, I agree. I love the rhyme thing. That makes it so cute, you know? That's great. And so you wrote your first kids book, And you self-published it?
Yes. Well, I sat with it for, I attempted to self-publish it. Then I realized Amazon has all these weird formatting rules and they have all these tools and I couldn't figure it out. And I was silly because then realized for about 50 or $60, I could pay someone to format it for me. And I wasted a bunch of time attempting to figure it out. And I realized I don't need to learn how to do this. I could just pay to get someone to do it. And then once I figured that out, I came out with 2 more kids books because now I had a process. I knew how to do it. And now it's very easy. I could probably write a kids book today and have it published next week.
I love that. You could teach us that. That is great. So it's amazing that you were able to find that. So that's very incredible that you were able to, figure it out. So what are the other names of the kids' books that you wrote?
So the second one I wrote was inspired when my wife was pregnant. And when she was pregnant, you have a little app and it says, oh, like your baby's the size of a puffin today. And one day it said your baby's the size of a panini. And we're like, let's call her Panini. We didn't know what the gender was at the time. So it was like, we'd be like, oh, Panini, how you doing today? And we just thought it was cute. So the second one was called The Panini Princess. And it's about a girl named Lily who makes the best paninis in the whole nation. And she goes on an entrepreneurial journey and she asks her parents for advice. Like she's making paninis and she's like, what do I need? And they're like, I need to invest in a bigger panini press. That'll help. And then she has a lot of customers and it's like, well, now she needs to hire help. So it's like teaching kids about starting a business. Then you hit a wall, you get tired. You're like, well, now I need to invest in a machine to make me more efficient. All right, this machine can only take me so far. Now I need to hire help. And in the back of all the books, there's also questions for parents to ask their children, which they can also write in the book. It's kind of like a little workbook.
Oh, that's so cute. Is there also art in the books?
Yeah, they're all illustrated. I might have one within arm's distance. I could show you real quick. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. And the illustrations, that's extra, right? You have to pay for somebody to do that for you? That's great.
Yeah, so I mean the total investment, if someone has like an idea for a kid's book,
Mhm.
they could probably get it done for about $500 to $700. The illustration is the most investment that you need to make. Getting it formatted is probably like 50, $60. So I mean for $500 to $700, you could become a kid's author.
That's amazing. I would love that. I think that's really, really fun. I'll definitely have to ask you more about that. And then when you wrote your second book and then you wrote your third book, right?
Yeah, the third one is about a bunny named Penny who turned her birthday money into something funny. And it's about
Oh,
a bunny that instead of toys for her birthday, she asks for stocks from her parents.
how cute is that?
Yeah. So teaching children about like, hey, like Penny was made fun of because like she didn't have the coolest toys, and then eventually at the end of the story, everyone's asking Penny how did she do it?
That's great. So you wrote three children's books, right? Or four?
Yes.
Three.
Yeah, I wrote 3 kids books, and I also wrote a wealth guide. That's just like a good intro book for anyone that's looking to learn about the basics when it comes to like finances, taxes, investing, money saving tips, such as like brewing your own coffee at home, how much money that could save you, rather than just going to Starbucks and paying. I don't even know how much a cup of coffee is at Starbucks. I have a really nice espresso machine I invested in, and because I like espresso, and then I realized espresso is expensive. So investing in a machine prevents me from going to Starbucks.
Yeah, and I don't think Starbucks is that great anyways, honestly, but I don't love it.
Well, it's the brand.
Yeah,
It's
it is
having it's
different.
having that cup. It's like, oh,
Yes.
you want the Starbucks.
Yeah, 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 definitely. That's great. I love that. And what's the guide called?
It's called Never Broke Again.
And where do you get that?
They're all on Amazon.
So that and all your books are on Amazon.
Yeah, and I actually found this cool feature now that Instagram's doing. I don't know if you've seen this, but like, have you seen like people are like saying like comment and I'll send you this?
Yeah, I think I saw that.
So I like started playing with it and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna like give everything for free. like everything out of like the wealth guide. Like if someone comments, I'm going to send them like a chapter of each book because I'm getting really tired of seeing all these financial influencers like exploit people for their own gain, and it's becoming annoying. And I don't need the money to make money off social media. Like I'm good where I'm at. So I figured I'm just going to do my best, coming on podcasts and reaching out to people. I mean, it took us a while to get on this podcast. I mean, I had to persevere a little bit. Like we made it happen though, and that's okay. Just because I'm not a known person, and as you know, as an author, like people have to know who you are in order to get your message out there. The first thing they ask you when you write a book is like how many followers you have,
Yeah,
not like
and
your credentials or anything.
yeah, I agree. And you know what? For me, it doesn't matter. I'm so happy you came on because I told my husband one of the things that I really like about you is that you're also like a spiritual person.
Yeah.
Like you feel it when you talk to you that you're spiritual and you really want the best for people. And I like that. That really resonates with me.
Thank you. It's hard because sometimes you will do the right thing and people won't see it.
Hmm.
So you have to deal with a lot of people like saying negative things about you, even though you really do have their best interest in mind. And that's the hard thing, especially because a lot of people are following the wrong people and then they believe that to be true. And it's hard for any person to look themselves in the mirror and admit that they made a mistake. That's one of the hardest things as a person is like, yeah, I made a mistake. But holding yourself accountable is a thing with investing that is going to set yourself apart from other people because investing is all about learning from your mistakes. No successful investor has made money on every single thing that they've done.
Yeah, no, it's great. And what are some of the things that you see influencers doing out there that's leading people in the wrong direction? What are some things that are really like you see it and you're like, oh, not another one like of those?
I saw someone well, first of all, most social media influencers, especially in the financial space, they are just have a niche market. And a lot of people ask me what my niche market is, and I still don't know what that is. But all niche market means to me is who are you marketing to? So I've seen someone who has a few million followers. She's a female and she's targeting women empowerment and talking about how women need to get paid equally and women deserve to have wealth, which I agree with all of those things. However, the way that she goes about it is kind of like bashing men, is like, oh, like bashing men and bashing all other genders. Rather than the way I look at it is, I don't care like who you are, but if you're the best person for the job and you have the credentials, like I don't care. And then it's just a matter of like taking advantage of that trust. Like once you have the trust and you have the following, uh, money does weird things to people. As I saw growing up in a divorced family, it makes people do things that they normally wouldn't do.
Yeah, too often in the world we see that money makes people make the wrong choices or do the wrong things, and it's not what it's about. We don't want to be, chasing the money, right? But there's a way to create it, and I know you help people create money in a very unconventional way. What are some of the unconventional ways that you are really focused on to help people make more money?
Well, I just worked with someone and they bought a really expensive house in California and they wanted me to help figure out what's the best way to tackle this because their mortgage payment's going to be like $10,000 a month. It's like a really nice house. And what most financial professionals do is they have products and they try and sell you products, or they do a comprehensive financial plan where they just put your data into software and they're like, oh, like Noah, if you do XYZ, you'll have $3.63 million by the time you retire, or something like that. Versus myself, I looked at, okay, you have this mortgage. What are the different ways we can tackle it? And so I have to go through like 3 or 4 different options and literally run the numbers on each option to figure out what the best path forward is for this person. And after it was all said and done, we came up with a strategy where it's going to end up saving them about $900,000 in interest. But it took a lot of work to figure that out because there's not like a calculator that's just going to do that for you. That's where the background in math comes in handy, that most people don't know how to do those sort of things because ChatGPT can only take you so far.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to save. That's amazing that you were able to do that for them, you know? So you work with people a lot one-on-one, helping them with their investments and their money issues?
Yeah, it's all one-on-one right now. I don't have a course.
Mhm.
I'm not doing like group coaching calls where I'm like, hey, like check out these hot stocks. You're part of my mastermind group for a monthly fee. I value my time too much to do that sort of thing. And I feel like if I went down that path, I'm trading my time for money versus I'd rather just manage money for our clients, do my own research, and work with people on a one on one basis. I feel like it's more impactful because every person's financial situation is different. Now, there are basic rules to investing, eating healthy, working out. Like, there's the basic fundamentals that apply to everyone. However, the basic fundamentals of any subject are only going to get you so far.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you got to be more creative, and I like your creative approach. We're going to take a quick commercial from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Joshua.
Hi, I'm Chris Trammell. I'm the marketing director for The Grass Grows Where I Am, and we can't wait to work with you. And if being in this anthology book would make a difference for your brand, your visibility, and your profitability, click the link below and let's get you started. Can't wait to work with you.
And we are back with Joshua Krafchick. Welcome, Joshua, back. No, makes a lot of sense what you were saying about, the different, that we have to, kind of custom things for people, that it can't be like a all thing. And so it makes sense that you work with people one-on-one. When people just get started, young people, they just get married, they're just getting started. What is some advice you can give them when they just start out their lives? Because that could be really confusing, how to invest your money, where to put your money. What are some things that you could share with them to be able to get on a good path in their lives, in their financial security?
Well, it all depends on the person and what kind of position that they are in. For example, if you're in a job where, let's say, your income potential is limited, you're going to have to save your way to build wealth or create some sort of side business to make more money if your main gig isn't going to help you make a large income. Because if you're able to live a normal lifestyle and you don't increase that lifestyle fast and your income goes up over time, it becomes very easy to save money. On the flip side of that, if you come out and let's just say you're a doctor and you go through your residency and you go from making basically minimum wage, working I don't even know how many hours a week, and then you start making 400,000, but then you have $500,000 in student loans. You have to figure out like where the best places to put money based on the economic conditions of society. So if we were talking about like in 2022, when the investment world, everything was ending and the world was coming to an end, that would be a good time to maybe put less towards debt and put more towards investments because those opportunities only come around so often. So it's all dependent on what's happening in the world and then figuring out that custom custom recipe to follow based on each year because each year is different. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect that to be the best way to do things.
How often do you think, yeah, it makes sense. How often do you think couples should spend sitting together and going over finances? Is that something you should do on a regular basis? How do you like start that conversation? Because I think a lot of people, even their marriage, even avoid those conversations. It's not something that they make time to really discuss, and it is so important.
Well, step one is how do you get confident with your relationship so you can talk about finances without having to have a set meeting? So, with my wife and I, we've gotten to the point where she doesn't really care about money. I'm in the business of building wealth for people, so I have a different view on the world than she does. However, we've worked hard to get to a point where if I want to do something. So, for example, we came up with a certain rule. If we want to spend more than a certain dollar amount on something, we ask each other before we do it. And that's because we were saving together when we were dating, and it was a little bit of a test. And she took all the money and used it to pay for a vacation. without asking me.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Well, so the stakes were low. It was only about $400 or $500 at the time. But I was like, listen, this can't happen again. And it hasn't. And now the stakes are higher that we've been married for almost coming up on 3 years. We have a daughter. We're starting to, I guess, have more and more responsibilities as they say.
Mhm.
And I'd rather learn a $500 lesson than a $500,000 lesson.
Yeah, that was actually a good lesson, like you said, definitely, because it got you guys on the right path and communicating with each other more, which is so important, you know? What are some of the myths of investing? Is there anything that you could share with us? What are some of the myths of investing?
I mean, one of the big ones I see all the time, especially on social media, is these financial influencers will say, oh, you need to open up this account because you're going to have tax-free money in the future. Like a lot of them talk about the Roth account. I also see people talk about infinite banking on social media, which is just an insurance policy that insurance people are attempting to sell to people. And when you are just getting started with building your wealth, you need to be focused on doing just that, building your wealth, not protecting it. And a lot of people have a scarcity mindset of like, oh, I need this insurance policy, or I need to make sure I'm covered for this. When you think about it, it's like, well, you don't even have that much right now compared to what you're going to have in the future. So it's like, what are you protecting?
Yeah, those insurance things, like financial planners, when they sit with you and oh, you got to put this much here and this much here. And it's just like, you don't really know if you're doing the right things. Some people, there's so many different opinions out there to know what works and which company to go with. It can be very confusing for a lot of people just starting out.
Yeah, I mean, have you had anyone attempt to sell you something that you're like, I don't know about that?
Yeah, I definitely. I think we've all had that. But what I like is the fact what you told people, what you just said right now, it made a lot of sense to me. If you don't have so much, don't invest it into like insurance kind of stuff because then you're kind of giving your money out when you should really be investing it into something to help it grow.
You're limiting your growth potential.
Hmm.
You're essentially putting limits on how much you can grow your wealth over time. Now, insurance can be great if you have a certain amount of money. I believe it's like if you're a single person, I think it's like $10 million. I don't know all the rules, but because I'm not like a tax person and I can just Google these things, but I don't have them off the top of my head. But if you have like over, just call it $10 million, and someone can Google this, and you have a certain amount of money that would be subject to estate tax, buying certain insurance products allows you to avoid those estate taxes. So it's a tax strategy if you meet a certain requirement. From what I understand, most people don't have over $10 million. And if you're buying an insurance product, you're essentially capping your upside potential. You're limiting your downside potential, but now you're living your life with limits. And I never want to be capped on how much I could potentially do in anything. I want to live in an infinite life if I can. Obviously, uh, there's going to be some bumps along the way, but that comes with anything in life. Nothing is a straight shoot to the moon.
So if somebody, yeah, definitely. And if somebody has like, let's say I come to you and I'm like, okay, I have $50,000. What should I do with it? How should I invest it? Is there any good advice you could give me?
So what I like to do is reverse engineer to figure out what is the recipe that's going to get you to your goal the fastest with the least amount of risk possible. So for example, if you're someone who doesn't like taking a lot of risk and you're like, hey, I want to retire early, but I don't like taking a lot of risk. And I show you that based on what you want to invest and how you want to invest, you won't be able to retire till you're 95 years old. That's probably not a good deal. So you have to educate people like, hey, like I understand you want to be conservative, but if you do your investing the way you want to do it, you're never going to hit your goal. And sometimes that could be a difficult conversation.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think of money market account? Is that a good place to start to not tie your money over a long period of time so it's available to you?
Well, money markets don't really pay a ton of interest. A lot of the people I see on Instagram are like, oh, you need to put your money into a high yield savings account and earn more interest, which it's better to earn more interest. You're also going to pay taxes on that interest as well. So when you think about the government and they need to make more money from a tax point of view and they raise interest rates and people are making more money on interest, like back in the 80s when people were making over 10% interest in their bank account. And they're like, why would I invest? I'm making 10% interest on my cash. Well, the thing with that cash is you're not really getting any compound returns because the US dollar is a depreciating asset and that's made by people. And if you don't invest your money into assets, you're going to become the person who complains about the price of eggs, gas, milk, the air we breathe.
Yeah, so assets, what are some good investments as far as assets goes?
It all comes down to knowing who you are as a person. So if you're like really good at fixing things, perhaps starting to invest in real estate would be good because you don't have to outsource repairs to people. You can do everything yourself as long as you enjoy doing it. So you're doing something you enjoy and you can keep your costs low. And real estate's great. You can get cash flow from it. It has a lot of tax benefits and everyone's going to need a place to live. If you're like me and you can barely change the light bulb in a refrigerator, building businesses is definitely one of the best ways to grow wealth. Unfortunately, most people work as an employee at big faceless organizations as a W-2 worker. So that's going to leave you to investing in normal markets to grow your wealth, unless you're going to do some sort of side hustle or become a famous author or something.
Yeah, we all want to become famous authors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds good. So what's okay, so if I had to say right now, what's your ideal customer? Like if somebody is watching this and they need your help, what's the ideal customer that you can help or the ideal customer you're looking for? Is there such a thing?
There is. And most financial advisors have a minimum. They're like, oh, you have to have $500,000 for me to talk to you. I was working with someone who has almost $1 million in their 401k, and they had a financial professional that they liked in their area. And the person said, oh, like, I can't help you because your money is all in the retirement account. So that financial advisor essentially didn't see any opportunity there. I ended up meeting him and charged him a flat fee and provide him a lot of value. And he loved it. And he was willing to pay for the advice. So my only barrier to entry right now is number one, you have to be able to use a computer. And number two, you can't be a jerk. That's my barrier to entry right now.
Two important things.
Yeah. So if you can't do that, then we don't even go to the next step. I mean, I just met with someone this year who had $5 million and they didn't want to pay a $30 consult fee because they felt entitled to not having to pay for things. And I told them, well, if you don't respect my time and you're not willing to invest $30 for that time, then I don't think you're going to value me at all.
Yeah, and they have to put some skin in the game. I really believe you're right about that. That people have to put skin in the game. They can't just, expect you to do things for free all the time for them, right? I mean, we do a lot of things for free in our lives, but to just be there and expect you to do that is just already, like you said, very entitled kind of attitude. And I'm sure that's not the kind of your ideal customer that you want to work with.
No, and I tell everyone, if you don't like me, I'll give you the money back.
Money back guaranteed.
I mean, it's only $30. It's not like I'm need $30. $30 isn't going to change my life. I've gotten to the point where I've learned, and some people may look down upon this, but it's all about seeing where someone's at. Are they going to value the time that we spend together? And are they willing to invest $30 for us to meet? So that way, when I show up on a meeting, they actually show up. And if not, then they lost $30. But whether it's $30 or $3,000, people are pretty motivated not to lose money.
That's true. I agree. That makes a difference. They're definitely much more likely to show up if they put some skin in the game and they put some money on it, It gives them a reason. People don't appreciate free, they don't appreciate when it's free.
There's no such thing as free. And you can't get a return on investment without making an investment.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Say it one more time.
You can't get a return on investment without making an investment.
Yeah, that's a great statement. I like that. So let me ask you this. How about for people that are a little older, that have not saved properly and have not put money away? What's your advice to them? Is it too late for them? They're in their 60s now. Is it too late? Are they out of luck?
Well, they may not be out of luck, but they're probably not going to want to do the things that are necessary in order to make themselves successful. So when I worked at a large financial institution, a lot of the clients were house rich and cash poor. All of their money is tied into a house because people want to own a big house and they feel like it's a good investment. But when you look at not from like 2010 to 2024, 25, the returns that people have seen in real estate, when you actually look at the large picture, owning a primary residence is not a great investment because you have property taxes, you have insurance, those go up year after year. Plus, you're paying a bunch of interest to the bank. Plus, you have to spend a lot of money maintaining the home. And then you have large transaction fees if you're to sell the asset. Uh, and when people are in their 60s, they don't really like change too much, and they may be very emotionally attached to their home. I met with someone who lives in Los Angeles. Their house was worth over $1 million. They hadn't saved very well. And I asked them straight up, like, if you could sell your house and that would be enough for you to do everything that you wanted and desired in retirement, would you do it? And I never heard back from them.
Yeah, I guess they weren't ready to do that.
Just a house. I mean, I sold my house to chase my dream of running a financial company. It was not an easy decision, but I looked at it as like, it's just a house. It's just it's just an object. I think reading The Alchemist helped me a little bit.
Yeah, and you know what you're talking about is detachment, right? Detachment to things, and you're giving up something now in order to have a better future later, to step into something bigger. And I think that people have fear about that, you know, because they're comfortable where they are. They're comfortable, you know, in that space right now. They don't know what's ahead. They're afraid, like this is their security blanket, their house, you know, and they're like, oh
Hmm.
my God, he's asking me to sell my house. I would never do that. So they're not willing. People are attached. They can't just give up something that they feel safe in. So I think that's part of it is the safety.
Well, you get stuck at a certain level
Mhm.
and you don't realize that there's more levels that you could get to.
Mhm.
You're just not willing to do the things to get there. I remember when I first started out, after I left corporate America, I was working with a physician who was making a lot of money. And when I met with him, he just bought a brand new house. He was driving a Porsche and he only had like $10,000 in his checking account, which for someone on his salary was like not very much. And I showed him, I was like, if you do XYZ, which is get rid of the Porsche, which is like $1,000 a month, get rid of this big house because you're working all the time, move into an apartment, simplify your life, you'll be a lot better off. And he ended up doing all those things. He ended up transitioning to a new job across the country. He was already in an apartment, so I mean, he didn't have to worry about selling his house or thinking about all that. He just could pick up and move. And this year he bought his dream house. But he delayed his gratification a little bit, took some sacrifice, moved from a big house to an apartment, which is very humbling to do because I've done that too. And it's just kind of like, oh crap, did I make the right decision here?
Yeah, it is humbling and knowing that it's not forever, it's temporary. And everything is temporary. I mean, life is temporary. So, you know, when we're able to just kind of go with the flow and see the bigger picture. So I think part of it is he was able to see a bigger picture and let the fear go and know that it's not forever, that there's something. So you're not really giving it up forever. You're giving it up for a short period of time so you can grow yourself in other ways, which I think is a great way to look at it.
Yeah, you can't just sit around. I mean, I'm sure you probably know this. Like, when's the best time to plant a tree? Today? When was the next best time? Yesterday? Or something like that. And investing's no different. Everyone's scared. They're like, oh, like I'm waiting for interest rates to go down before I buy a house. Oh, I'm waiting for the stock market to come down. Oh, I'm just gonna wait one more bonus until I leave my job. Oh, I'm gonna wait till it's perfect conditions. And there's never a perfect time to do anything.
You just have to do it. Like Nike says, just do it, right?
Yeah, just do it. Do you know how Nike got that catchphrase?
I have no idea.
So my wife told me, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently someone was getting the electric chair and they're like, what are your final words? And he said, just do it.
No way. That that puts a whole new spin on that phrase, you know? Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's true. I don't know, but it's a funny story.
it is
I mean,
funny.
not funny for the guy in the electric chair, but I mean,
Yeah,
just do it.
yes, just do it. Just do it. Exactly. Not for the guy, for sure. But that's, I never knew that. That's like, oh my God, that really changes how you see it, right? You don't want to have that picture of that guy sitting in the electric chair. Just do it, you know?
Yeah,
It's
just do it.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, but
great.
you got to just do it. I mean, every time someone comes to me and is like, hey, like, I have a business idea. Can you help me get it off the ground? I've gotten to the point I go, I don't think you're going to start this business. Like, not to be mean. I was like, I hope you prove me wrong, but I don't believe you're going to do it. And out of the 5 or 6 people, I think only one person has taken me up on it.
Those are words of encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to be a jerk. It's just like, a lot of people have said that to me, but talk is cheap.
Right. You want to see them do it before they come and talk about it.
I mean, people are too scared to give up what they have rather than to work towards getting something that they actually want.
Ben, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I looked it up and it says Nike's Just Do It slogan was inspired by the last words of convicted murder, and it says the name, who said, let's do it to the firing squad before his execution in 1977.
Oh my God.
Very, very, that was a really cool fact. I wanted to see where that came from. So, anyways.
Well, when you're in business, you study other businesses, and a lot of the things in business are just like on accident. Like Nike bought their logo for like $20 or something silly. I mean, Apple was a failing company for the first like 30, 40 years they were around until they came out with the iPhone.
Yeah, we have to fail to rise. That's the way it
Yeah.
is. That's the game. And it's a
Yeah, you
game,
just-
you guys. It's all a game. Like life is a game. You can't take it seriously. You got to have fun. You got to play the game. Whoever plays the game, the best will be a winner and will live their life to the fullest. That's what it's all about. Not to take it so seriously.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Maguire. Don't take your life so seriously because you'll never get out alive.
Yes. So how can people connect with you and find you, Joshua?
Just Google me and my website will come up. I'm the only person that I know of with this name, so finding me is quite
With
easy.
a cool last name?
Yeah, I was working my first job out of school and I was talking to someone and someone's like, hey, were you on like The Voice? And I'm just like, no. They're like, oh, there was someone on there. His name is Josh Krafchick. It was like spelled Krjcik. I was like, oh, it's close. He's probably from like a couple towns over or something from back in the day.
So where did you get that cool last name?
I don't know exactly. I know it's like Ukrainian, Polish, or something.
Very cool. So do you have a website, Josh, or any phone number, email, anything else you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to 369financial.com. You can just Google my name. I'm on every social media platform. And I'm excited to have you as a guest on my podcast, Noah.
It sounds great. And I would love that. And also, any last words you wanted to say to our viewers? Anything else that you have on your mind that you want to share?
Whatever you want to do, it could be done. You just have to make the decision to do it.
And follow through, right, with the action.
Yeah, you just got to do it. Because like in The Alchemist, if you really want something, the universe will conspire to give it to you.
Awesome. I love that. Great wisdom, great advice. And I don't know, you just look like a genius to me. The way you just, I just think that there's just a lot of great things for you ahead, and I'm excited for you.
Thank you. I hope so. I mean, people will tell you you're crazy until you do it, and then you do it, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of friends that weren't there.
And you have to decide if you want them to be your friends.
I mean, it's a pretty lonely journey. I mean, especially when you're doing investing that isn't mainstream. However, when you actually like read and like learn from like the best investors, uh, the late great Charlie Munger, there's like an interview I was watching, and he was talking about, he's like, if someone was really good at investing, why would they teach a course about investing? Wouldn't they just be investing or something like that? And I was like, yeah. And I mean, I'm just like, that's why it's tempting when you see people on social media like flaunting. They're like, oh, I'm making so much money from these courses. I'm doing this and that. And I'm like, well, if I just focus on helping as many people as I can and giving people good investment returns to help them build wealth, even if that means making unpopular decisions. And as long as I keep working towards it and putting other people's best interests ahead of my own, then I'll end up in a good place. I don't know where that'll be, but sounds like a good place to me.
Yeah, staying true to yourself, staying authentic, staying on your journey, and trying new things, because you never know till you try something new, and learning from people that have done it before.
Yeah, I mean, starting a podcast, most people don't get past episode 9. Public speaking, like talking to a camera, like I don't know about you, but I wasn't very good at it, and I'm still working towards getting good at it because it's a little bit awkward. Like, you gotta set up the camera, the microphone, the lights. Like, it's a little bit intimidating when you first get started. However, being able to convey a message and speak well and communicate clearly is a skill that is a high income skill. And the more high income skills you have, the more opportunity you'll find coming your direction.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. So tell the audience the name of your podcast.
It's called Unconventional Money Moves. So I like to have guests on that have taken an unconventional approach to finding success in their life. I'll reach out to people and they'll be like, oh, this is a wealth podcast. I'm not a good guest on it. But finding success in your life doesn't mean you have to have a lot of money, because you don't have to have a ton of money to be successful. I mean, once you get over $60,000 of income, the amount of happiness money brings someone is pretty much negligible once your basic needs are met. Obviously, you may not be able to buy private jets and yachts and things, but maybe you can find a friend that has those things, or rent one for the day with a bunch of friends and split the costs. And if you have friends and good relationships, you don't need to have a lot of money to have those cool experiences, because you can bring people together and share in the investment of creating those lifelong happy moments.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Be creative.
Yeah, be creative and just do it.
Just do it. I love it. And what does 369 on your hat stand for? Anything?
It does. So I met with this gentleman. I drove from Jacksonville, Florida down to this retirement community in the Villages. And it was when I first left corporate America. It was like the first person I signed up to like do a financial plan for. We started talking about Tesla, and not Elon Musk Tesla. We were talking about the OG Nikola Tesla, because I told him I went to school for math and things like that. And he was like, did you know that Nikola Tesla said the 369 are the magic numbers of the universe? And if you can discover the meaning behind those numbers, you can unlock the keys to the world. I was like, oh, that's cool. And that was about back in 2017. And I always just thought about it for a little bit. And then I started looking into it. 3 stands for growth. You always want to be growing. You never want to remain stagnant. 6 stands for family. You want to have strong family values. And then 9 stands for philanthropy. So it's important not just to take, but to also give back. So I figured that's a good foundation to start a company on. So 369 Financial, and I looked it up. No one else had it. And I said, let's do it.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm so glad I asked you about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I love it. I love it. I love when things have meaning to them. It's so nice. Well, Josh, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being patient with me. We finally got it together, and it was so much fun. And I hope you enjoyed your time here with us today.
Yeah, I loved it. We'll do it again on my podcast. I'll have you on, and I want to hear all about what you got going on.
Okay, I would love that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you.
Of course. I want to thank you for joining me today on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, remember to do these 3 elements daily to help keep you connected to a positive mindset and a positive attitude. Every day, remember to have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude is the number 1 thing that I do every day. Number 2, remember every day to ground in love and compassion. First for yourself, and then learn to share that love and compassion with others. Because whatever you want, you got to put it out and it will come back to you. And number 3, every day remember that you're not alone. You are guided by God. God, universe, higher power, whatever you want to call it, you're not alone in your journey. This journey is guided. Learn to be a good listener. Until next time, everyone, have a beautiful week. Namaste. Hi, this is Noah Crane. I'm excited to share this anthology book with you, The Grass Grows Where I Am. So just join us and be a part of this incredible book to help bring your message and influence into the world. We're excited to showcase what you do to make this world better. Click the link below. The World Healing Tour Movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.